Our group decided to tackle the ethical concern of fast food and ease of a terrible diet related to CAD deaths by me, Brandon Hange, Leanne Penagar, Katie Groff, and Matt Couch.
Our presentation will discuss the ethical concerns behind fast food in America, with our objectives being to identify the pros and cons of fast food, why we as consumers choose fast food, and what is happening to our health as a result of this choice. We will also discuss what is being done in response to these health concerns by the media and private companies. And finally, we will discuss what we as nurses can do to advocate for our patients' health. So, we all know fast food is bad for us, right? We can all agree that is fairly common knowledge. So why then do more than 84 million Americans consume fast food on any given day? Well, the answer is simple. It's because it's cheap, convenient, and quite frankly, it's delicious. According to a Rudd Center report, out of 871 parents surveyed, 91% of them had purchased lunch or dinner for their children from McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, or Subway in the last week. 91%. When asked why they chose fast food over a meal at home, the parents agreed because it's convenient, it's a good value, and their kids like the food. The average cost of a fast food meal is around $5 to $7. If you stick to the consumer-friendly value menus, which often consist of options for $1, you can get a meal for less than $5. An entire meal for less than a pound of chicken breast at a supermarket. You didn't even have to do any of the work. Along with being cheap, fast food is consistent and reliable. You know the quality and experience you will receive whenever you walk into a McDonald's, whether it be in California or Pennsylvania. And people appreciate this consistency, and this can be an advantage if you're in an unfamiliar area. You see those golden arches and you know where you are. We live in a society of instant gratification. We have the world at our fingertips. Next day delivery. We don't even have to sit through commercials anymore. And our diet is no exception to this instant gratification. Not only do we have the instant gratification of receiving an entire meal simply by driving up to a window, but fast food chains have so kindly and conveniently placed a restaurant on what seems like every corner. In fact, a study done by Kruger and Greenberg surveyed 1,600 random respondents, and 80% of them reported to have 7 to 8 fast food outlets within 2 miles of their homes. How convenient, right? Why wouldn't we as consumers choose fast food daily? It's cheap, quick, allowing us Americans to continue about our busy days, and it tastes great. Why wouldn't 84 million Americans choose fast food daily?
The cons of eating fast food. Fast food is the epitome of instant gratification. Let's face it, we all love those salty McDonald's French fries. But what are those tasty French fries doing to our bodies? We know that fast food is of lower quality and it is made for the masses, which in turn means it has more fillers and preservatives and less fresh ingredients. Sadly, it tastes great because it has the potential to cause more serious health risks. A review of studies on fast food and heart health found having fast food more than once a week was linked to a higher risk of obesity, while eating fast food more than twice a week was associated with a higher risk of metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, and death from coronary artery disease. This is disturbing because more than half of adult Americans eat fast food every day. According to the hidden dangers of fast and processed food, over the past 50 years, the health of Americans has gotten worse, and now 71% of Americans are overweight or obese. That means a staggering 100 million people in America are obese. Today, eating processed foods and fast foods may kill more people prematurely than cigarette smoking. Coronary heart disease is the most common type of heart disease, killing over 370,000 people each year. Heart disease costs the United States about $200 billion each year. The total includes the cost of healthcare, services, medications, and lost productivity.
As compelling as Katie's arguments for the daily consumption of fast food are, we know that it's bad for our health to eat this stuff. Research published both in academic and in lay journals links fast food directly to increased risks of obesity and of coronary artery disease, and those two disease processes directly are linked to causes of mortality. The dilemma we face, not only as healthcare professionals but as citizens, is if the research is so plain and so clearly links these greasy, salty sandwiches to heart disease and to death, why is this stuff so freely available to everyone? How much regulation, if any, is the right balance between too much interfering and protecting the health of the public? Like anything, the answer to this dilemma is a little complicated and a little more nuanced than simply right or simply wrong from an ethical standpoint. It also requires multiple approaches to tackle effectively. There are a few ways that change, if any, needs to come by. By public demand, like consumers becoming more educated and asking for better options. By government regulation, generally through the FDA. And by healthcare professionals, educating our patients about how to make good choices. The answer to the dilemma is complicated, but there are a few simpler things already in play, making progress towards tipping the scales in the favor of health and wellness. Brandon's going to explore some of the changes in regulations and consumer practices affecting the fast food industry, and then I'll be back to discuss what we as nurses can do to further promote health and wellness in our patients.
So what is being done currently about this ethical concern? The problem of increasing rates and cost of coronary artery disease has caught the attention of the media, private companies, the government, and other groups that have their own idea of what needs to be done and what changes should be implemented. Even the fast food companies have responded to this and things that they think should be done, which ended up being good because a lot of them have added healthier choice options that are better than the high-fat, high-calorie options that are a mainstay of their menu, like the cheeseburgers and French fries and all the unhealthy stuff that you're used to seeing. Much of this push for healthier options came straight from the consumer also. They recognized that their consumers wanted something better than just these cheeseburgers and French fries. So I recently have gone to a fast food chain and was surprised at how many healthier like salad options, apple slices instead of French fries, things like that they have in their menu, which is an improvement and is a positive. But also to bear in mind that they put a large amount of sugar in those salads, a large amount of salt in some of them too. And you can get options for salad dressings that are extremely high in fat and calories, and they just lather it all on. And sometimes it ends up not even being much better than that cheeseburger that you would have had before. So public education is still needed to make better decisions, not just the addition of healthier options. The FDA has also implemented requirements to list calorie counts of the menus of fast food chains, but also restaurant chains. I've personally changed my mind on what to order after seeing something that's 1,200 calories and knowing that I won't be able to eat anything much more than that in a day. So this has changed my choice of what I get at these restaurants, but for someone who just sees a number and doesn't really understand what that calorie count means, it might not affect them as well as someone who is educated in nutrition, like you and I. There is also a lot of debate on what should be done for food options. In the public sphere, there are many conversations going on places like Facebook and Twitter on a daily basis that this is what you should eat, or this is where you should go. They have organic, this and that. And while there is a lot of good information in these places like Facebook and Twitter, a lot of it is misinformation. And to be able to understand which is good information and which is bad information for the general public, it can get very confusing. Government agencies and entities have listed the aid of experts that have accurate and reliable information related to proper nutrition that have helped lead to good policy. This has led to what I previously talked about of menu labeling that was implemented by the FDA. Also, they have a newer policy that is trying to put important information on the front of labels to highlight what's important, to make it a little bit easier for some people to realize, oh, I should probably try and avoid that, or oh, that's actually pretty low on calories, so it's a good decision.
So hopefully at this point you're saying, okay guys, we see the evils of fast food and we know that more has to be done. Where do us nurses come into all of this? Hopefully. The answer, of course, is education. But it's more than just talking about what to eat and what not to. Everyone knows McDonald's will kill you, but we all have a Big Mac here and there, right? Or maybe Chick-fil-A if you're like me. We all know it isn't good for us, but we still go for it. The teaching is less about what's bad versus good, and more about understanding what makes food good or bad for us. We should be focusing on empowering our patients to make good choices and understand why they're good choices. This is, I think, why our chronic patients get readmissions to the hospital so often, and why so many fad diets ultimately fail, and why we feel like we're always saying the same things over and over again in our teaching sessions with patients. The shift has to be towards teaching building blocks rather than parroting information at them. So let's talk to our patients about how to read food labels. We aren't talking about calorie counting here, unless we really need to, but more about what makes up the calories we're eating. You can have a 500-calorie lunch and feel like you did great, but is it 500 calories worth of refined carbs, or is it 500 calories of lean protein and leafy vegetables? Let's stop talking about fat being bad and talk about what makes a bad fat versus a good fat. Let's talk to our patients about sodium and empower them to understand how much of 2 grams of sodium really is. Then give them opportunities to see how much sodium is in some of these foods that we all love, or how much they use when they cook, and see how quickly it all adds up. Nurses are the ones who can spend the time going over these things, and nurses are the ones that people trust to tell them. If we aren't empowering them to understand, who is? Get out in the community and be present to teach. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? Participate in community health fairs and other opportunities like that in your circles. Check blood pressures. Teach dietary classes in your churches and in your community centers. Get involved in organizations at schools if you can to participate in healthy menu planning. In the healthcare setting, add some general questions about nutritional status and activity levels into your assessments if you don't already. You might be able to pick up some trends that you would have missed and have the opportunity to tackle them with your patient. Exercise goes along with diet. Every patient has different fitness goals and needs, but we can and should be promoting activity of some kind and with some regular frequency for all of our patients, whether it's walking around a few days a week or encouraging our fitness-minded patients towards achieving their next goal. We also don't want to pretend like we know things we don't. Most of us are not certified personal trainers. Teach what we can, but more importantly, set our patients up with resources and more information when necessary. It's better to refer them out than it is to give them poor information that brings them back to us sooner than necessary. Finally, nobody likes the do as I say, not as I do mentality when they're being coached. If we expect to get through our patients, we better be practicing what we preach. Not only is it good for the patients, but if we don't take care of ourselves, we won't be in the game long enough to take care of others. Watch what you're eating and make sure you apply healthy dietary principles to your own life. Get plenty of exercise, sleep when you can, quit smoking, watch the alcohol intake, and if, like me, you can't totally give up that Chick-fil-A, know its place in your dietary plan towards health and wellness. There's nothing wrong with enjoying things here and there, but know your body's needs and limits, and make sure we're taking care of ourselves, at least as well as we're telling our patients to. So where do we go from here? Just like the dilemma of fast food's availability has multiple facets to worry about, so does our approach going forward. There's great momentum among the public to demand transparency about nutritional data, but is it enough? More and more food chains are opening up, some advertising, quote, healthy fast food. But are they actually a good alternative to Katie's McDonald's or my Chick-fil-A? Nurses are getting better about teaching nutritional aspects of health, but is it on our radar enough with our patients? As we ponder these questions, hopefully we've reached some agreement that, if nothing else, something more needs to be done to continue fighting against the health risks of fast food in our country and in the world. While some may find themselves in positions to advocate with policy change, we can all advocate for change in ourselves, our families, and in our patient populations. The best way to make people healthy is to keep them from getting sick in the first place, and that begins with us, in the classroom, at home, and in the hospital.